What if I told you that desire isn't triggered by sweetness, safety, or overexposure, but by psychological contrast that creates emotional tension? Here's the truth. Most men try to win a woman by being overly available, overly agreeable, or overly predictable. But attraction lives in polarity, in mystery, in restraint. That's where dark psychology comes in, not as manipulation, but as mastery of emotional response. Stoicism teaches you this. The less reactive you are, the more her mind begins to orbit around your silence. When you hold back, when you don't give full access to your emotions, when you lead with presence instead of persuasion, she feels the pull. Women are biologically wired to notice what is uncertain yet grounded. The more composed you are under pressure, the more valuable you appear. Carl Jung believed that what is denied attention becomes obsession. So when you break patterns by not explaining yourself, by walking away first, by smiling without over-engaging, you activate curiosity, and curiosity is the seed of craving. Right now, if you're chasing attention, she's resisting. But if you become the calm, unreadable force she can't fully access, you don't beg for attraction, you become it. If you're ready to use psychological tension the Stoic way, not to manipulate, but to lead with discipline and power, like this video, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment. I control myself so I never have to control her. Number 1. Stop chasing. Start leading. The Stoic reversal of attraction. In a world where attention is currency, most men are taught to pay it without restraint, hoping kindness, consistency, and availability will win love. But what if I told you that this formula, this cultural blueprint, is quietly eroding your value? Picture yourself as a torch in the fog, burning brightly, but unseen because you are always there. The first lesson in modern attraction is paradoxical. To be wanted, you must stop chasing. This is where Stoicism meets dark psychology, not to manipulate, but to reclaim your center. Epictetus once said, "We suffer not from events, but from our judgment about them." The man who constantly seeks validation is a man who has surrendered his sovereignty. And in today's emotionally saturated digital age, that surrender is loud. Likes, messages, availability, it all screams, "I am here. Please choose me." But attention is no longer rewarded. It is devalued through abundance. Instead, scarcity seduces. A man who values his time and energy, who withholds his responses not to play games but because he is immersed in a purposeful life, triggers emotional pursuit. You are no longer the pursuer, you become the gravity. This is not emotional coldness, it is calibrated presence. You don't disappear to punish, you disappear to reconnect with yourself. In doing so, you restore contrast. And in a sea of men trying to be liked, contrast becomes power. Think about it. The more you text her, the more her replies dwindle. But when you stop initiating, genuinely stop, she reappears. Not out of guilt, out of confusion, curiosity, that spark of mystery that only absence can light. From a Stoic lens, this is the practice of apatheia, freedom from passion, not from feeling, but from slavery to feeling. You still love, you still care, but you are not a servant to the highs and lows of how others perceive you. So the next time you're tempted to reach out, first, pause. Ask yourself, is this an act of confidence or compulsion? Then redirect that energy inward towards your health, your craft, your mind. In this silence, you become noticeable. In your absence, you become remembered. And in your stillness, you become magnetic. Number 2, the power of ignoring. Why absence creates obsession. Imagine a blazing fire in the middle of a freezing forest. The closer you get, the more you feel its warmth. But what if that fire moves away, vanishes behind the trees? You don't forget it, you chase it. That is the psychological power of ignoring, not as a game, but as a strategy rooted in self-worth and Stoic restraint. In our hyper-connected age, always replying, always being there, always saying yes sends one loud message: You're too easy to access, and what's easily accessed is rarely respected. This isn't cynicism, it's human psychology. The scarcity effect shows us that we value what we cannot easily have. When you remove yourself from constant availability, your presence suddenly gains weight. Your words have echo. Your silence gains gravity. To ignore doesn't mean to be cruel. It means to step back with grace, to allow your absence to speak more powerfully than your presence did. Think of it this way: when you always answer instantly, you remove suspense, you strip the interaction of tension, of mystery. But when you delay, when you are slow to respond not from spite, but from purpose, you change the dynamic entirely. You become a question in her mind, not just another answer in her phone. From a Stoic perspective, this isn't manipulation, it's temperance in action. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Likewise, if a message does not come from a place of power and purpose, don't send it. Silence is a shield, not a weapon, and by choosing not to react impulsively, you exercise what few men today possess: discipline. Let's be clear, ignoring doesn't mean ghosting. It means choosing your response time, choosing to respond when you are emotionally centered, not when you're desperate, choosing to create emotional contrast rather than suffocating with affection. Many confuse kindness with over-availability, but true value comes from restraint, not constant attention. A practical example: she texts you with a generic "hey," you like her, you want to reply instantly, but you pause, you go to the gym, you read a chapter, you return with calm. "Hey, just got back, how have you been?" That delay, that micro-withdrawal sends a signal: you have a life. You're not orbiting her, you're grounded. And grounded men are rare. In romantic dynamics, the person who controls the frame of attention controls the pace of desire. By removing your attention even briefly, you invite curiosity, tension, pursuit, but only if it's rooted in self-respect. Ignoring to punish is childish. Ignoring to preserve your peace, that is stoic. So when you feel the urge to chase, try this: do nothing. Let your stillness speak. Let her wonder. And in that wondering, let attraction grow on its own, fed not by your words, but by your distance. Now, speak out and comment below. My silence increases my value. Number 3. Emotional triggers, the roller coaster that captivates her heart. Think of emotional attraction like a roller coaster. Would anyone line up for a ride that moves at one flat, predictable speed? No. What draws people in is the rise, the fall, the unexpected twist, the moments where their heart skips, where uncertainty becomes exhilarating. This is the emotional dimension of attraction that logic can never create, and why most nice guys remain unnoticed. They're predictable, safe, and, ironically, forgettable. Psychologically, this phenomenon is explained by intermittent reinforcement, a concept from behavioral science where inconsistent rewards create deeper emotional bonds. In other words, when you're not always available, when your attention comes in waves, it triggers a psychological craving. She starts to wonder, will he message today? Will he open up this time? What does his silence mean? That emotional curiosity is what draws her in, not the constant flow of compliments or approval. From a Stoic lens, this emotional mastery is not about toying with feelings. It's about disciplined engagement. You learn when to show warmth and when to retreat, not out of manipulation, but because you understand your value and choose when to share your emotional energy. Seneca reminded us, "Nothing is so honorable as a grateful heart." But that gratitude must be earned, not given freely like candy to anyone who smiles your way. This isn't a suggestion to become moody or inconsistent. It's about being intentionally dynamic. One day, engage her in a deep conversation that lingers in her mind. The next, disappear into your purpose without explanation. This contrast keeps her emotionally awake. She may not consciously know why she's thinking of you more, but it's because you're not flatlining. You are emotionally alive, unpredictable in a way that commands attention. A practical example: You share a late-night phone call where the energy flows. You both laugh. You're fully present. The next day, you're quiet, absorbed in your own goals. That space causes her to reflect, to remember. She might even initiate. If she does, it's not because you played a game, it's because your rhythm left an imprint on her. Many men sabotage themselves by thinking consistency means always being there. But attraction doesn't grow in flat fields, it grows in the valleys and peaks of emotion. Controlled unpredictability is not chaos, it's art. And the Stoic artist knows how to blend presence with restraint, warmth with stillness. So learn this truth. Real emotional connection isn't created by saying more. It's created by making her feel more, and only disciplined contrast can do that. Number 4. Detachment is power, the quiet behavior that commands respect. Picture a man walking calmly through a burning city, his gaze steady, his posture unshaken. That is the image of emotional detachment, not from apathy, but from self-mastery. He is not running from the chaos, nor is he consumed by it. He simply chooses where his energy flows. In romantic dynamics, this is the essence of high-value behavior, detachment from outcome. Most people equate care with pursuit. They believe that if you want someone, you must constantly show it. But the Stoic man understands that excessive attachment is often a symptom of internal emptiness, not true love. Real value is silent. It doesn't beg, it doesn't chase, it magnetizes. Psychologically, this is called self-validation. When you no longer need external approval to feel worthy, you project quiet confidence. This doesn't mean ignoring or neglecting others. It means not investing more than what is being reciprocated. If she pulls back and you continue to pour in, she won't admire your effort, she'll sense desperation. Detachment is not coldness. It's a conscious decision to preserve your energy for what is worthy. You're not avoiding vulnerability, you're avoiding emotional imbalance. The Stoic practice of amor fati, loving your fate, means accepting that not all things or people are meant to stay. When you detach from outcome, rejection loses its power. You don't chase closure, you create peace within. In love, this might look like not double texting, not rearranging your life for someone who doesn't do the same, not explaining yourself when your silence says more. You do not become rude, you remain warm. But your energy is directed inward first, not outward for validation. A real-world example. She doesn't reply for 2 days. Instead of spiraling or confronting her, you remain composed. You go to the gym, you focus on your projects. When she does message again, you reply kindly but without eagerness. That balance creates gravity. She senses that you're not emotionally dependent. That's the moment she begins to respect you deeply, even if she can't explain why. Detachment, when rooted in Stoic dignity, becomes the shield that filters out unworthy connections. You're not testing her, you're revealing who's aligned with your value and who's not. Now, speak out. I don't chase, I attract through presence. Number 5, subtle influence. The quiet language that makes you irresistible. Imagine standing in a crowded room where everyone is talking loudly, but one person doesn't say much. He simply stands differently. His shoulders are relaxed but square. His eyes move slowly. He listens more than he speaks, without a single boast or plea. The room starts noticing him. That's the art of subtle influence. Influence, in the Stoic worldview, isn't domination or manipulation. It's mastery over yourself to the point where your very presence communicates calm authority. Instead of chasing attention, you set the frame not by force, but by energy. The moment you start guiding interactions through tone, body language, and boundaries, not words, you graduate from being someone people look past to someone they lean toward. In psychology, this taps into the power of social proof and mirroring. People subconsciously trust those who appear certain and grounded. When you speak slowly, make eye contact, and hold pauses without anxiety, you signal strength. When you mirror someone's posture just slightly, you build unconscious rapport. Subtle influence is not about tricking people, it's about understanding how emotional energy flows. The Stoics knew this long ago. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In other words, when someone provokes you, your calm reply says more than 1,000 reactive words. That's influence. When others act emotionally and you remain composed, you control the frame. That's influence. In love, subtle influence shows up in the smallest ways. You walk ahead, not out of arrogance, but because you lead. You nod as she speaks, not to agree with everything, but to show you're fully present. You gently hold eye contact after she finishes her sentence, letting the silence breathe before responding. This quiet power disarms and intrigues far more than excessive charm or intensity. Here's a common mistake: trying too hard to impress, over-explaining, laughing too loudly. These things leak value. The Stoic man doesn't perform. He lets others discover him gradually. His mystery is not a game, it's a reflection of how much inner work he has done. To practice this, start by observing your tone. Speak a bit slower, drop the need to convince. When she leans in, you don't move. When she gets distant, you don't chase. You stay exactly where you are magnetically grounded. Number 6, the calm within. Why emotional self-control is the sexiest power. Picture two men facing the same situation. A woman he's attracted to cancels a date last minute. One reacts with frustration, sending passive-aggressive texts. The other responds with a short, calm, "No worries, hope your evening's good," and then goes back to his purpose. Guess which man she can't stop thinking about? Emotional self-control isn't about bottling up feelings. It's about mastering your internal climate so the storms outside don't shake your foundation. In Stoic terms, it's ataraxia, a tranquil mind that stays unshaken even when life tries to rattle you. This calmness is not only magnetic, it's rare. In psychology, this links to emotional contagion. People unconsciously absorb the mood of those around them. If you stay centered while others spiral, you anchor the energy in the room. This is especially powerful in romantic dynamics. A woman may test you, not maliciously, but to see if your composure is genuine. Will you stay calm when she's moody? Can you hold stillness when things feel uncertain? The modern world pushes men into reactivity. Click fast, reply faster, impress instantly. But the Stoic man is different. He pauses, he breathes, he chooses response over reaction. In doing so, he silently communicates, "I do not need to control others because I control myself." Let's be clear. Emotional control is not emotional suppression. A Stoic doesn't fake indifference. He simply recognizes which emotions are useful and which are noise. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." That includes not saying things in anger, not acting from insecurity, and not chasing from fear. In romantic settings, this composure is electric. When you disagree, you don't raise your voice. When she pulls back, you don't panic. When you're overwhelmed, you don't project blame. You take space to center yourself. She feels safer, more drawn in. And when you finally speak, your words carry weight because your silence held depth. Practice this in everyday moments. When you're interrupted, pause before reacting. When you feel slighted, let the emotion rise, observe it, then let it go like a cloud passing overhead. It's not easy, but every time you choose calm, you deepen your gravity. Now, speak out and comment below. I master my emotions, no one else does. Number 7, the silent gravity. How mystery and distance spark deep desire. There's a reason why the most unforgettable characters in film, the James Bonds, the Thomas Shelbys, say little, reveal even less, and yet captivate entirely. Their magnetism isn't loud. It's carved in mystery, in the realm of attraction. The more someone has to guess, the deeper they fall. Why? Because the unknown awakens imagination, and imagination is desire's greatest fuel. In Stoicism, we don't manipulate, but we do understand the value of boundaries. The Stoic man doesn't expose all his thoughts, emotions, or routines, not because he's hiding, but because he honors the intimacy of gradual revelation. What's rare is treasured. What's too available is ignored. Psychologically, this taps into the Zeigarnik effect. Our minds fixate on what feels incomplete. When a man doesn't share everything, when he chooses his words carefully, when his schedule isn't always open, he creates emotional cliffhangers. The woman begins to wonder, what's he thinking? What is he doing now? Why does he feel so grounded in solitude? This mystery also mirrors the Stoic principle of self-sufficiency. You are whole before love. Your life is full before attention. When you walk away from validation-seeking behavior, oversharing, over-texting, over-explaining, you cultivate a magnetic silence. Not cold, not passive, but charged. Let's clarify. Being mysterious is not being evasive or emotionally unavailable. It's about strategic transparency. Share enough to spark curiosity, but not so much that there's nothing left to discover. Let others earn access to your inner world. For instance, in a conversation, instead of spilling your life story on a first date, offer a small glimpse. There's a lot behind that decision, but maybe I'll tell you someday. You plant a seed, and she'll want to water it. On social media, resist the urge to constantly broadcast your emotions or daily activities. Maintain an aura of real life happening off camera. In a world of constant updates, your restraint becomes compelling. Mystery and distance, when practiced with integrity, are not games. They are expressions of power. They say, I am present, but I am not desperate. I am open, but I am not exposed. Now, comment below. I protect my depth, only the worthy may enter. Number 8. Rejection is power. The Stoic way to handle no without losing yourself. Rejection, a word that stings, a feeling that rattles the spine and leaves many spiraling into overthinking, self-doubt, or emotional collapse. But for a Stoic, rejection is never the end. It's the mirror in which self-mastery sharpens its reflection. Imagine a blacksmith forging steel. Every strike doesn't weaken the blade, it strengthens it. That's how a Stoic receives rejection, not as a judgment of worth, but as a tool for refinement. Modern culture teaches you to chase, to prove, to convince. If she says no, send flowers. If she pulls away, try harder. But this is desperation disguised as effort, and nothing repels true connection faster than emotional neediness. The Stoic sees it differently. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, choose not to be harmed, and you won't be. Rejection is not humiliation, it's information. It tells you where energy should no longer be spent. There is immense power in how you react to being turned down. If she declines your invitation, and you respond with grace, that's okay. I respect your choice. You've just said more than 1,000 words. You've said, I am whole, even without your yes. This attitude triggers something profound. Psychologically, it's called the reverse pull. When someone doesn't beg for connection, their dignity becomes magnetism. They're not pleading for approval. They're broadcasting self-respect. And in the emotional jungle of dating, that's the rarest scent. Let's be clear. Handling rejection well doesn't mean suppressing emotion. It means giving it a home within strength. Feel the sting, then stand taller. Don't seek comfort in false hope. Seek growth in clarity. Try this the next time you're rejected. Pause. Say thank you, not out loud, but internally. Thank life for removing what's not aligned. Then, invest that same energy into your goals, your body, your craft. Watch how quickly the universe rebalances in your favor. Remember, rejection is only fatal to those who tie their value to another's yes. Number 9. Strategy or manipulation. The Stoic test of intention. In the silent spaces between our words and actions lies a question most never dare ask. Am I leading with truth or simply trying to control? When it comes to relationships, especially romantic ones, the line between psychological strategy and emotional manipulation is razor thin. One builds attraction from understanding, the other builds tension from deceit. The Stoic doesn't walk that line blind. He walks it with awareness and conscience. Let's begin here. Influence is not the problem. Influence, when rooted in self-awareness and mutual respect, is the art of emotional intelligence. But when you feign silence to punish, withhold affection to confuse, or mirror someone's body language just to seduce, it's not connection you're after, it's conquest. And conquest has no place in love. Stoicism draws a line in the sand. Epictetus reminds us, only concern yourself with what's within your control, your thoughts, your actions, your integrity. That means if you pull away to create space, it must be to respect your own boundary, not to bait her back. If you delay a response, it should be from clarity, not calculated coldness. Ask yourself this: does this action elevate both of us, or just give me the upper hand because intention is everything? The same act, like not texting back, can be an exercise in self-respect or an act of passive punishment. Stoicism demands the first, never the second. True power in relationships isn't about control, it's about centeredness. When you master emotional strategy with ethical grounding, you become magnetic, not manipulative. She'll feel your silence as strength, not coldness. She'll sense your restraint as discipline, not game playing. You don't need to trick someone into loving you. You need to become someone so rooted in his own worth that love flows naturally toward your presence. So strategize, yes, but with virtue. Be intentional, not deceptive, and always lead from a place of dignity. Now, comment below. I influence through integrity, not manipulation. Number 10. Confidence meets vulnerability. The hidden force behind irresistible men. Picture a lion in the wild, majestic, powerful, but at times, lying still, eyes soft, exposed to the wind, strength and vulnerability coexisting. That's the image Stoicism offers when it comes to true emotional magnetism. Most men are taught to choose, either be confident or be vulnerable. But Stoic wisdom proposes a radical integration. True confidence is not destroyed by vulnerability, it's deepened by it. Let's be clear, vulnerability does not mean oversharing. It does not mean collapsing into neediness or fishing for validation. That is weakness disguised as openness. Vulnerability, from the Stoic lens, is the courage to reveal your truth without seeking comfort or approval. It is standing in your story, flaws, fears, and all, and saying, "This is who I am, and I'm at peace with it." That form of emotional nakedness, when it comes from a place of self-possession, is magnetic. Why? Because most people are terrified of being real. And when they meet someone who has mastered both their darkness and their light, who can say, "I've been broken, but I've rebuilt," they can't help but feel drawn. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." The fear of showing our scars is often worse than the act itself. But here's the twist. Showing your scars shows that you've healed, and healing is more attractive than perfection. In a relationship dynamic, this means you can listen without defensiveness, admit you were hurt without bitterness, and share your doubts without becoming dependent. She doesn't just respect you, she trusts you, and trust is the foundation of all meaningful connection. The Stoic lover is not an emotionless statue. He is a storm once survived, and that storm, when expressed wisely, becomes his charm. Try this. The next time you're on a deep conversation with someone you care about, share a personal truth, not to impress, but to connect. Then return to your center. Let that moment pass, and continue the interaction with grounded presence. You'll notice her eyes soften, her guard lowers, because now, you're not just a man she admires, you're a man she feels safe around. Number 11. Taking back control of attraction. The Stoic way to be chosen. Imagine you are the captain of a ship in stormy waters. Most men, in the chaos of relationships, throw away the wheel and pray the sea will carry them to the shore of love. But the Stoic man grips the helm. He adjusts his sails. He doesn't chase the storm. He commands his own voyage. That is the final truth of this journey. Attraction is not fate, it's direction. You are not a leaf in the wind, hoping to be picked. You are the tree that grows regardless of who sits in its shade. Throughout this content, you've seen how each psychological principle, from emotional control, calculated distance, and subtle influence to brave vulnerability, is not about manipulation. It's about self-governance, and that is the deepest magnetism a human can possess. Stoicism teaches us to fall in love with effort, not outcome. Amor fati. Love your fate means you don't just accept what comes, you embrace it, bend it into your purpose. So when you apply these strategies, you aren't pretending to be someone you're not. You're removing the noise and revealing your truest power. When you no longer beg for attention, attention arrives. When you speak less, your silence becomes language. When you stop chasing, they notice what they've lost. This isn't a trick, it's the natural law of value. We treasure what is rooted, not what is restless. Here's what it looks like in action. You're no longer waiting by the phone. You're building, training, reflecting. You've stopped asking, do they like me, and started asking, do I respect the man I've become? That shift alone changes everything. And here's the beauty. When someone does come into your life, they meet the version of you that doesn't need them. That's the version worth staying for. So take this as your call, not to manipulate, but to master yourself. Walk calmly into the world. Let women feel the gravity of your presence. Let silence speak. Let detachment protect your peace. And let your values, not your desire, lead your actions. Because in the end, the Stoic path isn't about being chased or desired. It's about becoming unforgettable by being unshakable. Now, comment below, I don't chase, I attract by becoming. You came here looking for some tactic to make her want you, but now you understand. True attraction is psychological, not performative. You don't chase her attention, you shape the space where she feels it's missing. The Stoic man doesn't manipulate, he becomes the man who moves differently. He doesn't explain silence, he doesn't fill gaps with noise. He doesn't chase validation, he observes reaction. And that stillness, that emotional restraint, it triggers something powerful in her. The need to understand you. When a woman wants to understand a man, she opens herself emotionally. That's when desire begins, not from what you gave her, but from what you withheld consciously. Carl Jung said, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. But when your stillness holds up a mirror to hers, she can't look away. So stop feeding her what she expects. Interrupt the pattern. Let silence make her wonder. Let distance create weight. And let your presence remind her of the kind of man she doesn't meet twice. If you're ready to trigger authentic desire through calm emotional command, like this video, subscribe and comment. I move with restraint. That's why I'm remembered. Stay unreadable. Stay grounded. Because the man who knows how to use tension without fear or games never has to beg to be wanted.